It's 2011, there's a giant ash cloud shutting down air traffic all across the Atlantic Ocean. We're about to find out why Danny Hart can't sit down, and I'm Rich Payne 10 years ago. I'm at a downhill race. I'm racing at Bike Park Wales with my peak descending performance downhill bike.
But is it? Is that still peak performance? Or have times changed so much that a modern day enduro bike with its newer, albeit similar geometry and much better tech, actually quicker and better than a downhill bike that I would ride back in the day?
Enduro bikes have got longer and slacker over the last 10 years to the point where really they could be a downhill bike of 10 years ago, but with that modern tyres, modern drivetrain, modern damping and suspension. So we've dug this out of the loft to see if it really, geometry is the most important thing still, and how much of an extra speed boost those little modern ticks give. And me and Rich basically keep drawing in all these different challenges, cornering, old cheap bikes, all of that. So we'll be following each other down the track, just seeing who's got that extra edge, how the bike feels, and if something like this still stands up to modern performance.
Right, Isaac. Now, before we get on to the bikes, I want to talk numbers, because I feel like a little top trump style thing coming on here. So
that's very 2010, isn't it?
It is very 2010. So my Ooyy Roral, it's a size large and it's got a head angle of 64 degrees.
Oh, so I've got 63 degrees. So
really?
I'm going to be absolutely fine cruising flat out.
Stable at high speed.
Yeah.
But the reach on mine is a 485.
So, 406.
406?
Yeah, this is the big difference, I think.
Oh my
it's crazy.
goodness, that's cozy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for a wheelbase. 1,260 mil.
Okay, so 1,194. So it's that reach brings that 60 mil extra, I think. But my chainstays are 440. What are yours?
440 as well, actually. So
that's weird.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, what else have you got? Have you got bottom bracket height?
Got bottom bracket height. I do in inches, I think.
In inches?
Well, we've got to stay.
Okay,
talk to our friends across the pond. It is 13.8 inches, 350 mil.
343 mil.
So it's pretty close.
It's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
What other numbers you got, if any?
I have a top tube, I think.
Oh, top
is
tube.
590 mil.
Top tube. Oh, you've hit me with a number. Hang on. Don't know.
Oh, I win. I've got more numbers than Rich.
He's got more numbers than me. Okay, well so actually, sort of breaking that down, there are some numbers there that are very similar. Head angle, what do we say, and bottom bracket.
Bottom bracket and chainstays are basically smack the same.
Yeah.
And it's just you've got an extra 60 mil in reach, which corresponds to a longer wheelbase. And that's really the only difference.
Okay, I mean, obviously, and then we could sort of throw some
wheel
notes.
size.
Wheel size, 26, 29, travel, 200 mil, give or take, front or back.
Yeah.
160 rear, 170 front for myself. Weight?
Weight, 17.7.
Oh, I hope you've been going to the gym, because mine's 14.4. Yeah.
Well, we're going downhill, so it doesn't matter.
We'll see. Okay, well, with that then, let's head to the trail.
Drop it in. Straight out of the gate, I'm struggling to keep up. The bike feels super sluggish, and Rich is able to pop these doubles so much easier than me. This is the first choppy rough section where the extra travel means I can take my brain out and just let the bike run.
Big drift from Rich. The downhill bike is million sections like this, where it's just flat out, double.
This is the main way that the bikes are changed, isn't
I
it?
feel like this is quite the disadvantage where a downhill bike in general is out, but an old one especially.
I'm sweating.
And you are sweating.
I'm sweating in my proper vintage pants.
that old Rich kit of yours.
Yeah.
But we are at the top. We are at the Martian.
Yeah,
now, this is where things should get interesting, right?
This is a pro line. This is a proper downhill track.
Yeah.
This has just been ploughing through all the rough stuff so far, which is good because the tyres are quite exciting.
Yeah,
so I've just been leaning back and going with it.
This is it. This is where sort of the warm-up has come to this trail, and I think this is really going to sort of show the differences between the two rides, hopefully.
Hopefully, or that they're actually the same.
Why would you do that? Why would you make a drop to flat? Oh, all the way around that side.
It's hard to get up to speed, but the bike opened up this gap for me.
We've done a couple of runs now, sort of downhill track. How was it on that bike?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm very used to this bike. It's sort of one of my go-to enduro bikes. It handles exactly as I'd expect it to. It accelerates, it decelerates, the parts on it, the suspension. I mean, I'm very, very used to it. So it's sort of a home from home. But for you, that bike is obviously new and you've never really ridden a downhill bike, let alone an old downhill bike before. How are you finding it?
Pretty limited experience with that. It's cool, it's quite exciting. It's actually quite difficult, like, to build up to speed because it just rolls a little bit slower. It feels it's quite heavy, but then when you do get up to speed, it does deal with all the rough stuff super well.
Yeah,
I think. Like, you've got a bit more travel on the suspension, which means it's a little bit softer off the top, and with the coil shock, it's very downhill, obviously, and that gives you that small bump busteriness. But where the old-fashioned feeling of it is the tyre compound.
Right.
That's the main
Just
thing.
grip then,
just
pure grip.
Because it's quite slick today.
Yeah.
Like, it's not wet, and that makes it even harder because it's not predictable.
It's just damp in the woods, so isn't it?
And so I have to work hard to keep my speed, which can be really rewarding and chunking through stuff, but it's a little bit on edge.
What I find the biggest difference is that it's the manoeuvrability in it. And what I mean, and the stability.
Okay.
So let me sort of elaborate. So in terms of like manoeuvrability is, these big bikes, or bigger I should say, a lot roomier. You got a lot more room to manoeuvre yourself around the bike.
Okay, because of the longer reach.
Exactly, yeah. You've got more space within the bike to move about.
Yeah.
And it just, I find that means that when you're on the trail,
it's like more flicky. And
to a degree. I mean,
because it's the opposite, but then it allows
with bigger
you
wheels,
to do
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously,
cool.
the bike lends itself to you now. But I mean, following you on that, it looks quite scary, and it reminds me of exactly when I used to ride them as well. Because
it does. It puts me back in this place, especially because I've got the old school gear on, which is quite heavy and sweaty, and I'm the full face and everything. It does put me in a mindset of like feeling like a sketchy kid.
Yeah.
Like, which is weird. I haven't. It does have a massive effect. Like the kit you put on, the bike you ride, where you're at, it puts you in this mindset of that type of riding, and then you ride like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's the same on an XC bike, or like if I feel really park and cool and I've got my flats on, like I do scrubs, and so now I feel like I should just be crashing.
Yeah. God, well, please don't.
The only thing I will say is I think because of the 26-inch wheels, when I've ridden it on the blue, like the flow trails, it's fun. It feels like a BMX.
Yeah.
And I can actually, like, I'm pulling off the jumps and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah, you don't get that same playfulness on these kind of modern enduro bikes. Well, with that then, I think we should probably head back out onto some more trails. What do you reckon?
I think so. Yeah, let's get to it.
All right.
This section really highlighted the way you can flick the small wheels around and place the bike where you want. The shorter wheelbase means things come up fast, but you can move the bike as one rather than front to back.
Good. I mean, that downhill bike looks super capable, to be fair, but for its age, I like deep navigation. Oh, the enduro bike's suffering a touch here. You can see that extra travel of Isaac's eating up the rocks. Whereas here, my wheels are eating up the rocks. Oh.
In these fast, rough sections, the suspension works really well, but the 26 front wheel gets pushed offline easily, so you just have to concentrate super hard. The Enduro bike is rougher with harsher body hits, but the big wheels roll over the bumps and track better despite the bike being chucked around.
So we put a few laps down now on both the bikes. I know what I think, but the question is, did you miss it today? Knowing what you do about them, just doing an uplift on this, did you think, oh, I wish I had triple clamps?
No, I'll be honest, I don't. I actually don't. I mean, watching you ride down on this was funny because I'm not on it.
Okay,
So
harsh words.
No, in the sense like that, you were going well on it, but I don't wish I was clattering my way down on that. I mean, sometimes there were parts of the trail where I think, oh yeah, cool, that sort of extra travel of a downhill bike does look like it would be helpful. There were a few moments it got wild. But just sort of, you know, the stability, the suspension, how it works, you know,
just brakes, kind of like carrying your speed a bit more, like popping out, but you're not getting bogged on it so much. Yeah, on that vicious
valley track, especially towards the top where you're like popping little doubles and rollers and pinging between the trees and stuff. You're like, this thing's an absolute gem. Having said that, when it did get steeper and we were hitting like that quite tech trail with the big drops to flat and stuff, I was like, oof. Why would you do that? Why would you make a drop to flat? My bike's not liking this. And, you know, we got a metal versus carbon bike here as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there's that, you know, I'm not worried anything's gonna happen to it, but you worry even less with that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been the thing for me, like, just really enjoying trucking through stuff. Like, and it's, even if the bike isn't too different, it puts you in a different mindset of like, because I've got the full face on, I'm like, yeah, I'm downhill today. Yeah. And you can kind of, I'm gonna say get away with stuff, but you have to a little bit, and you just sort of steer with the rear.
Yes,
you know, and it is rewarding that, like, actually leaning into riding downhill sort of thing. I've actually really enjoyed that. It is a novelty for me, obviously, so there's that factor.
Yeah, true.
But I think, obviously, you can't have all the bikes you want, but if, like, it is actually a pretty affordable thing to try and build up. Like, if you are doing, like, uplift days and that kind of thing, I've actually had a lot of fun. Like, I would love to get better on this bike.
I feel like it's like a get out of jail free card as well, right? So it's kind of like point and go, and then that's like that's all you got to worry about.
And that's cool, because that actually then does elevate your riding, because it allows you to explore that send, and then you can dial it in and not die.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Touch Boris.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, what would you choose? Old school downhill bike, modern enduro bike. Which would be your flavour of fancy? Let us know in the comments down below. Until next time, if you want to see any more comparisons with myself and Isaac, do let us know as well down there, right, buddy?
That's it. You know what to do.
And well, we'll see you next time, right? See ya.